everybody, so we got a fun review today as we're discussing Argylle. Now, I'm a sucker for a good spy thriller. It's one of my favorite genres around, whether it's Bourne Identity, Mission Impossible, James Bond, you name it. I usually like it to some degree. So I was pretty excited going into Argylle, but also it's been unfortunately kind of a dry spell as far as big movies being released. It is early in the year, of course, but I was still begging Matthew Vaughn and company to please deliver some level of enjoyment for Argylle. Argylle follows a spy novelist who, after a spy saves her life, is drawn into the real world of espionage as the plots of her books are very similar to activities of a sinister underground syndicate. There honestly is a lot of stuff to be intrigued about when it comes to Argylle, whether it's on the screen or off of it, because supposedly this is based off of a book by an author named Ellie Conway, the same name as the character in the film. Who is Ellie Conway? Still to this point, we don't actually have a clue who that is. Strictly discussing Argylle as a film, however, it's very difficult to watch something like this and not get some level of enjoyment out of this roller coaster of a spy thriller. Most of this adventure feels like an homage to the classics of the spy genre and how it executes each of the twists and turns within its story. Much like the style that he's employed with the three Kingsman films, Matthew Vaughn just truly excels blending together his signature style of action sequences into a fairly wacky storytelling structure, considering the way they introduced Bryce Dallas Howard's character into the spy world with Sam Rockwell. It's extremely over the top, but in the best type of way, the way that you expect from a Matthew Vaughn style film. To put into better perspective, if you love that style he employed action-wise in Kingsman, you're gonna like a lot of the action that you see in Argylle. Predominantly all the action sequences that you're gonna find in the final act of the film. Those basically rival what you would see in the climax of a Kingsman film, with these insanely over-the-top shootouts, skating is involved. And if that's not something that interests you, I don't think you're going to like the action in Argylle all that much. It's actually pretty insane just how stacked the cast for Argylle is when it comes to talent, whether it's John Cena, Samuel Jackson, Catherine O'Hara. All of them have varying levels of screen time, but I wouldn't really necessarily say any of them were bad. I think everyone was pretty solid at the very least. Though I think my favorite performances across the board are Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell. And maybe because I'm biased, the cat was an MVP as well. Anytime they featured Alfie on screen, I was on board, although the VFX work was questionable to say the least. A lot of the VFX work by and large in Argylle is pretty rough. Initially at first I thought it was almost intentional because it's supposed to convey this fantasy because we're weaving in and out of a book in real life, but then the real life sequences also started to have pretty bad VFX work. Yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell, chemistry wise, both of them were fantastic, especially Sam Rockwell. Almost every single thing that Sam Rockwell did in the film I was super entertained by. And that isn't to say that Bryce Dallas Howard didn't do a phenomenal job as well. If anything, I was more impressed by her performance just because she is asked to do a whole lot as far as dramatically, going through quite a journey discovering herself, but also the physicality of the role because she's asked to do quite a lot of stunt work and action while she's on this espionage adventure. That was definitely not something I was anticipating going into this, seeing Bryce Dallas Howard kind of have her action movie star moment. I gotta admit, especially because it's been so long since I've seen him on the big screen, it was delightful to see Henry Cavill have a role in a feature-length film. You can tell he's having a great time with the material and just hamming it up in every single scene that he's in. He has some pretty amazing material as a spy, despite the completely ludicrous haircut he has that was kind of distracting at points. I was eating up every single scene he was in. For being a fictional character, he has quite a lot of screen time compared to a lot of other people, mainly someone like Dua Lipa, who is in the movie for less than probably 10 minutes if I'm being generous. And don't get me wrong, Dua Lipa did a solid job with her small role that she's in, but I could have used a little bit more Dua Lipa. Despite the fact that I thought the trailer over time started to get a little bit grating because I saw it in front of so many films for so many months, they kept a lot of the overall story in Argylle a secret. There's a whole lot of stuff that you didn't see in the trailers, and that's something that was refreshing to go into this movie and actually genuinely be surprised by the things I'm watching unfold in the story. Though the story as it did progress started to get a little bit all over the place due to the pacing not being the greatest. Most of the momentum for the story comes to a screeching halt in the very middle once we start getting the big reveals of who is Agent Argylle and then the rest of the story that they've not revealed in the trailers. Once the cat's out of the bag on who exactly is the real Agent Argylle, this story just bombards you with twist after twist. Now, I love a good twist in a story. I think that is very fun, especially when it's the spy genre at large. There is almost like twist whiplash with the amount of twists and turns in the last third or so of this movie. It just started to melt my brain each time they threw another twist after another twist twist. Yet despite that, I wasn't ever bored by any means watching each twist and turn unfold until the last third, because I think the last third of Argylle is probably the strongest, where everything finally starts coming together, all the pieces start making sense. Amongst the various twists and turns in the story, the big reveals, the biggest one of all, the one they've been marketing so much in the ad campaigns, is who exactly is the real Agent Argylle. It's kind of cool that I finally, after so many months of speculation, know who Agent Argylle is, which I'm not going to spoil here, of course, don't worry about that. But I will say, I thought it was a pretty interesting reveal. It wasn't mind-blowing revelation-wise or anything, but I can't deny that I did have some fun with the big reveal. In general, Argylle was a pretty thrilling new spy adventure. It's packed like usual for Matthew Vaughn fans with exciting action, a killer soundtrack, and just a solid cast of characters to get invested in all around. When it comes to some of the more recent entries in Matthew Vaughn's filmography in the kind of spy thriller action genre, I would probably put it somewhere in the middle, because I still think the first two Kingsman films are much better than Argylle, but I think I like this a little bit more than the Kingsman at the very least. Which is extra ironic considering the fact that there is a Kingsman Easter egg, if you will, in a mid-credit scene, so make sure you stick around for that mid-credit scene. If you've been desperate to go see something new in theaters these last couple weeks when there hasn't been a whole lot of stuff coming out, I would say check it out. I think you'll have fun. It's one of those movies that I think if you get a big party together and you like the spy thriller genre, you're gonna have some level of entertainment value from it. Either way, now you've heard my thoughts on Argylle. Make sure you share your thoughts down below. How'd you feel about the film once you get a chance to check it out? Did you like the film? Did you not like the film? How'd you feel about the reveal for Agent Argylle, which don't spoil it in the comments down below once you do know it, just because I don't want to spoil it for anybody else if they're checking the comments. As always though, thank you guys for checking out the reviews. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel to update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. But the next time, I'll see you guys later.